So we're back out in the garage today and we've got a project with the Expedition, and that is going to be making the 135 liter cargo box divider. Now, you can carry all sorts of supplies in your box for when you go, whether you want to carry ice fishing gear, whether you want to carry recovery gear, whether you want to carry spare parts with you. You can carry so much gear inside this box that it becomes finding it when you're looking for what you're trying to find can be quite difficult. So one of the things, your gear is going to bounce around and move around all over the place. So the cargo divider works really great in the box. It snaps right in once it's there. This particular one was made out of a piece of either 7/16 or 1/2 inch plywood that I had kicking around in the shop. You probably have some stuff kicking around in your place. Use whatever works. I don't think it's going to matter whether you go 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch for whatever type of plywood you put in there. You could even use some MDF if you've got that kicking around. So what you want to do is you want to log into, we'll go through logging into brp.com, the instructions. So if you go in there and you search for the 135 liter cargo box and you go through there, you will find the template measurements for the cargo box. So there's a little bit of math that you're going to need to do for it. So we'll walk through that. But really, tools are dirt simple here. Some cardboard for a template, because I think it's a good idea to cut a template for it first, make sure it works, then cut your plywood. You're going to need a pencil, a marker, ruler, some measuring tape. I used a calculator to do a little bit of the math because it just made it easier. Jigsaw, sander, and if you want, you can paint it up. Grand total time, you could probably do it in about an hour. It doesn't take that long. Certainly a morning job, couple hour job. It's going to take you no time at all to be able to make it and put one in this cargo box. And so let's get cracking at it. So what we're doing here is we're just checking against an existing template to see what type of cardboard we need to cut. If you don't have an existing template and you're working off the instructions, your width is A, which is 500 millimeters or 19.68 inches, and your height is H, which is 13.46 inches or 342 millimeters. You'll need to cut your cardboard to match those dimensions. So, in making the cargo box divider, it's going to be really helpful if you have a measuring tape or a straight edge that measures in metric, because it's a lot easier to deal with these measurements if you use the metric. Now, if you simply remember millimeters, the metric system is divided by 10, so this is 50 centimeters. Most of these are going to be in centimeters, whereas the millimeters are the small parts, the small divisions, graduations in between. So, first thing you want to do is find yourself a good, what edge of your cardboard is straight. And then I found it also helpful, because I have a square, I just locate the straight edge, run a line up down the side, so then I know I'm working everything kind of off of this corner, all the measurements. Here's where we have to do a little bit of math. So A, which is the widest part of the side of this, of the template, which is going to correspond to the two corners up here, to the corner here, and to the corner over here. So the widest parts of these two corners is A. Now, the next piece, which is the little step part where you have to cut in, this little part here, the distance between these two is given to you as 457 millimeters. The distance between the edge and here is not given to you. So you're going to have to do a little bit of math to figure out what the difference between A and B is. So if you sit down and you work through and figure out exactly where these measurements are, and just, working through the first one there, so A is 500 millimeters, B, so that is A, and then B, 457 millimeters. We can do the math really quickly at, 43, but 500 minus 457 43 millimeters, but that is the combined of both those sides. So the notch is half of that. So divide it by 2, because there's 2 sides to it, and you're at 21.5 millimeters. So I've made the notations on my plan 21.5. So they don't give you all the measurements, but when you sit down and you look at this, you figure out that you need to certain distances, you need the measurements to go in, and you'll have to subtract between these, and in some cases divide by 2. If they're giving you this distance, but you need to go in how far, you're going to have to figure out what the total distance between G and E is, and then divide that by 2 to come in. So we'll walk through this here. All right, mark the A's down. So total height H, so we've got A, 50 millimeters, or 500 millimeters. The height H is 342 millimeters. So pick a corner in which you want to start at, and you can start at the bottom or the top, doesn't matter, you still have to do them all. Sometimes easier to do across the top. So we figured out the distance between A and B is 21.5 millimeters. Here. Here. So the distance between these two then should be 457, which is B. And we are 458. It'll be good enough. I think it'll be close enough here. By the time you saw it, it tends to move a little bit. You transfer your cardboard over. Okay, so C, which is the next step, is 348. The difference between A and C is 152 millimeters. Half of that is 76. If you take off the 21.5, it's an additional 54.5. Or the whole distance is 76. But if we go 54.5, and we go from the 21, 54.5, the whole distance should be 76. We go here, measure here, there to there, 76. This part and that part. Now, if you measure between the two, just to make sure, you're at 348. So if you make a mistake, if you check these values off as you go along, you should be fine. So this one is C, C. This one is B, that is B. Here is A, here is A. And D, which is this one here, is 180. 500 minus 180. 320 is going to be the distance between here. Divided by 2, 160. So here, so D to A will equal 160 each side. $160 millimeters. 160 is here. And the distance between the two, 180. So these ones are D. So now we're going to find the K. So K is actually the difference between the very top of the divider and the 2 points at D. It's kind of where it dips down at the top. Anyways, one of the points to really pay special attention to is that the sides taper from the widest point at A, which is where the notch is, all the way down to the bottom. The side continually tapers. So it starts out at A with 500 millimeters across, and it tapers down to about 4 inches up from the bottom, which is point I, and that space there is G, which ends up being, I think it's like 35 millimeters. So you just got to really be careful when you're going through it that it does taper all the way down to the bottom. And you'll see it coming up here where I've got the mark between G and I, just a little bit of difference, and it drops down to F, which is right at the bottom. One of the things that you want to absolutely make sure you do, test your template. Make sure that it fits. Room. Snap in. Pay special close down to here, over here, in the bottom, up here. Want to make sure there's nothing. This one appears to be a good template. One of the handy things at tracing it out using cardboard is as you draw all the way around the outside, because it's cardboard, you can hold down one half of it and lift it up to make sure that your pencil line made it all the way around, as you can see I'm doing here. Check one side, check the other side, touch up where you missed, and then I went over it after with straight edge just to make the edges nice and straight, even though they'll probably move once I cut them out with the jigsaw. So now we want to do a test fit. The way I find it usually works is you put it in the part of the box towards the seat. It's actually a little larger. It slips in there quite nicely, and then you just snap it forward. So as you can see, open it up, got all my recovery, all my emergency gear in here, got spare kits, but everything's inside that one side. This side is completely open for whatever else I would want to take. Travel without getting banged around. Cargo box divider.